All right, here we go. Hey, how's everybody doing? Thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. This was kind of like, what are you doing this afternoon? Nothing. Well, let's
Hmm.
go live. So it was all kind of put
Very
together,
impromptu.
and it was late morning too at that. So,
Hmm.
but here we are. It was funny because we were kind of talking in a group chat, and I was making the comment that most of the people that were in that group chat were people that at one point or another we had been on the stream together. And Mariah goes, "Well, what
Hmm.
about me?" and
Yeah.
and I didn't realize we hadn't been on. I know I've been on an Eddie's, but I guess it's
Hmm.
been those times where you haven't been on, but Todd has. So I was under the assumption that you and I had already done something live before until you
Nope.
until you until you made the comment. I was like, well, we need to fix that. That's something we can fix real quick. And
Right.
it
Exactly.
actually did come pretty quick together. So which I'm kind of happy that was the issue, that was the case. And we can remedy that situation there. But it's one of those things where you are so familiar to me because I've been following you on Instagram for quite some time now, even before you really started
Definitely.
doing stuff on YouTube. So
Hmm.
for me, those two worlds kind of blend in together. TikTok, not so much because I don't do a lot of live streaming in TikTok.
Yeah, I've
Although
never been on
I,
TikTok.
yeah, and I do follow. I think that's what the account that I have the most followers in. And but I've never done anything live on there. I think maybe once or twice, once on my channel, and maybe like two or three times that I've hopped on other people's lives. It's a whole different dynamic as far as what's in TikTok.
Hmm.
Which is still interesting though, but it's a whole other fish community out there. And they don't
Really.
necessarily uh it's funny how they don't go across the different platforms for some reason. I'm kind of like the
Hmm.
oddball that does all three of them. But most
Yeah.
of the other ones either do like TikTok, Facebook, or they'll do TikTok, Instagram, or in Instagram you have people that do Instagram and Facebook or TikTok, but they don't hardly any of them do YouTube. And
Right.
that's the one thing that I always find fascinating because a lot of these people have like these huge followings on TikTok and Instagram, and they're not monetized. They're not making any money off of that. Oh, well, TikTok's a little bit different
Right.
though because they do get like the super chats, which are a little bit different, I guess. And now that I guess YouTube Vertical is trying to do something very similar with these little icons that pop up. That it's very very TikTokish in the way they're doing it.
I don't know. I would say maybe it might have something to do with this, like the very strict rules and like just regulations and everything that YouTube has with a lot of original content that people make, or even streaming content that may get taken down or just demonetize the channel in general if they have been monetized, just because it's like really really strict stuff that YouTube has going on.
Yeah,
I've heard that from a
I don't
lot
know
of
what it
different
is.
people that use other platforms.
But the thing is, I mean, I've managed not to get in trouble in any of the platforms because I pretty much
Mhm.
do the same thing across all of them. As a matter of fact,
Right.
one of the things that I'll do, if anybody's following me in all three of them, they're gonna even by default on Facebook, because I got it set up where anytime I post on Instagram, it directly links it to my personal account. And then on TikTok, I had made like I was trying to do. I didn't know. I guess unbeknownst to me, I kind of set up like a store on Facebook that's actually under Mexicali
Mhm.
Fish Keeper, and that one's linked to TikTok. So it's they all kind of cross pollinate with the videos that I post, and which I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. I used to be able to do it from like TikTok to YouTube, but YouTube doesn't like that. I noticed that when I would do those type of videos, it wouldn't push them through the algorithm
Mm.
because it would have the watermark for TikTok, and it would just bury them.
Yeah.
So what I started doing was just posting the same. It's the same videos, um, The only difference is that you'll sometimes see is the music for each of those videos is different based on the platform because it's the access you have to the certain type of music, right?
Yeah.
So I'll have fun with that. One of them will be, they're just very different. They seldom will I be able to use the exact same music on all three platforms, but it's the same footage, and it allows me to post it. And I noticed that when I would post anything that didn't have any watermarks, whether it was Instagram or TikTok, would actually do better on YouTube. YouTube doesn't like it when you use somebody else's platform. So,
Hmm.
but it is what it is. I wish they would have a better. There, I mean, you can. I don't know. I wish they would had a little bit more features on there that you could do for your shorts, like with TikTok, you can use CapCuts, and it just kind of edits a video for you like in seconds, and you could, if you
Oh
don't like
wow.
it, you'll give you another template, so it makes it very easy to post
So
content
is it
on
kind
there.
of like an AI editor
Yeah,
type of
it's like
deal?
an AI
Okay.
editor, and all you and it'll select music for you based on the effects that they're adding on the clip.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
but if you don't like it, you can personalize it. So you can take either the edit that they're doing and switch the music to add your own personal taste of the music, or you could just leave it as is, or you don't even have to use
Mhm.
that. It'll allow you to. You have a lot more freedom as to what you can do, but it's pretty interesting. I mean, once you start playing around with all three of them, it's kind of like you start seeing which platform is trying to emulate the other. So you go, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So they're liking what this one's doing, and then they're gonna try to take that and adapt it to whatever it is they're doing. But it seems like YouTube is always like three steps behind on when it comes to
Mm.
all of that. But anyways, enough about that. We're here to talk about Mariah.
Oh my God. Don't put me on the spot like that.
Sure. Well, you are on the spotlight. It is the showcase
Okay.
of Mariah.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
We're gonna
What
get
you
to
got
know
for me?
Mariah a little bit better. I know people are familiar with you because you are one of the co-hosts for what is it, Thursday night? Is it Thursday night stream that you guys
Yep.
do together?
Thursday night, Vibes Aquatics. Yep.
Uh, all right. So we know you from there, but why don't you kind of give us a little bit of a who you are and how you got into this whole crazy world of fish keeping?
All right. Well, as a lot of y'all already know, my name is Mariah. I also go by Smokey. Um, I'm Smokey the Fish Girl on YouTube. I am Mariah underscore Raina Cichlid underscore Tashera on Instagram. Um, I'm 28 years old. I'll be 29 in March. And I started getting into fish originally. I was working in a retail store. A lot of you already know. I used to work for PetSmart years ago, and I was in the pet care department. And unfortunately, there was not an in-depth training with the company as far as the type of fish that were carried, the type of fish that were compatible with each other, just all the things that we really need to know, just even the basics for fish keeping. Um, and because of that, it kind of drove me even further to want to do my own research to learn what I needed to know to be able to better assist my customers and help them with the questions that they had. Because it doesn't make sense that someone comes to me asking for help with the animals that they need care for, and I can't properly help them. So I
No,
wanted to be able to do that.
in the interview for that job, was it just in because it covers all the different pets? Did they ask you just general questions about all pets, or do they have a specific interview for people that want to work either reptiles, aquatics, or dogs or cats?
No, so honestly, actually, for the interview process, it's not particularly centered around pets in general. It's more
Customer
so
service.
about availability, previous experience with customer service and retail service, things like that. Whether or not you can lift a certain amount of, sorry, that was
I
my
think
washing machine.
it's done. Let
My
me turn
bad,
on my
y'all. You know, it'll be
notifications
random
because
noises in the background.
for some
Um,
reason everybody's deciding to try to get a hold of me now. Let me turn down everything off.
it's okay. I got noises going on too. We're all good. It's fine. We're people. It's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, real quick before I continue, I just want to say, y'all, don't mind the tank. I did a big old water change earlier today and rescaped it and stuff, so it's still cloudy. Don't judge me. All right. Let me just say that. Just saying. But yeah. No, the interview process it really there wasn't really much mention. I mean, obviously they want to know if you have any experience with animal care and what type of experience that may have been. But past that, there's nobody asking you what your preference is or what your specialty is or anything like that, unless you actually have something that you want to go out of your way to mention.
So if somebody has no experience per se fish,
Mhm.
what do they have like videos or something for you guys to kind of get informed, or it's all on your own, figure it out as you go?
So the training videos that they offer are more so targeted towards, like I said, more the retail aspect of it. Just like interaction, customer interaction, POS system type training. There's not a lot of direct training for pet care specifically, other than maybe like cleaning of the habitats and the type of setup that they need to be. But those generally change throughout the year, depending on what the corporate offices send down to the stores and how they decide they want to change those setups and everything like that. So it really just depends. But most of that is not included in like the training or the interview process. No.
So what happens when an employee has to go in there and like, well, I don't know of all stores. Do you guys still carry snakes and stuff like that? They
Mhm.
just want you to stick your hands in there and or or
So
or is
it
there
really
still
it's so crazy because it varies depending on the store and the management team that you're working with too. I've worked with several different managers at some point that they are too afraid to even go near the reptiles. They won't stick their hand in the habitat. They won't handle them. They won't do anything with them. Same goes for birds or certain small animals. I know personally, I prefer not to want to handle hamsters because they like to bite. I can and I will. I have no issue with it, but I would prefer not to if I don't have to. But yeah, oh, and spiders. I'm not touching no daggone spider. Sorry, I can't do it. They're beautiful, very fascinating creatures. I can tell you what you need to know to take care of it. I'll hand you the box, but I ain't touching it. I ain't pulling it out. No, we ain't doing that. Mm-mm, not me.
Yeah,
Find
it's so
somebody else.
interesting that they would just be more concerned about you having the customer service background and not so much
Hmm.
that with some experience with some of these animals. Uh, because I guess potentially some of them could be harmful, but for the
Hmm.
most part, everything they keep there is kind of like on the safer side, I guess. But still, if you don't know how to handle
Now,
something, you can aggravate it and it could turn on you.
now there are parts of the training that includes like very basic things like for instance they definitely train you on zoonotic diseases, which are, if you're not aware, they're diseases that can be transferable from these animals to humans, and vice versa. These are things that can be transferred and can be harmful if you don't handle the animal properly. um there's lot, especially with small animals like guinea pigs and rats and hamsters and gerbils. Wet tail is a huge one. It's bacterial disease that they get, and it's really gross. But they do train you about certain things, but it's very
Okay.
basic. But like you're not gonna know the difference between African cichlids and South American cichlids.
Yeah.
You're gonna know that what it says on that service card. This is a cichlid, that's a cichlid, so that must mean that they can go together. The same goes with like the sizes of the fish. They're gonna go based off the little information cards that they have. And it tells you like about how big. One of those information cards will tell you that a common pleco can only get 12 to 14 inches long.
Yeah, if you
We
stunt
all
it,
know that that's some bull.
that's gonna be a stunted common pleco.
We all know that that is not true. All
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, and even those little information cards, they'll give you just the bare minimum basic of partial knowledge. And it doesn't really, like I said, it doesn't really help you assist your customer in any way be able to care for their animal properly when they take it home, or the ones that they already have at home.
Now, are
Especially, let
they?
alone some of the problems that they may run into with their tank or lighting or plants or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they? Are they receptive to feedback from you guys as employees? As you know, because eventually you start getting experience, learning. You
Mhm.
know that some of the things that are on there might be incorrect. Do they listen to you guys? If you guys are, is there a way for you guys to provide feedback and say, "Hey, look, this information here is kind of erroneous. Is it's
Mm.
not nearly as close." Or are they like, whatever, this is what we're putting out, we're not changing anything, and that's the way it stayed?
So unfortunately, in corporate settings, it's pretty much like the second part of what you
Mm.
said. There's not really a lot of acceptance of feedback. Now, a lot of leadership from the higher up areas, not necessarily leadership within the store, will come around and they will, they'll make it seem as though they're hearing your concerns and taking them into consideration, but they're nothing really changes. It stays the same. They're gonna do method based on their little algorithm or whatever they put into their computer program, and they're gonna go with whatever is based on makes them the most money.
Mm. Yeah. Now,
And
I
that's
know
unfortunately that's going to be the case with most corporate places.
yeah, yeah, because well, unfortunately, I'm stuck. All I have is a PetSmart. And the other day I was actually talking to the young lady that was there, and I said,
Mhm.
are you guys is this kind of that inventory? You guys are never bringing anything else in
Yep.
there? She goes, yeah, they cut back a lot of species that they were
Mhm.
bringing in, and their list has drastically been reduced to, I guess, the highest selling products that they have, and that's all they're
Mhm.
keeping. So,
Part of the
like for
reason
the
for that is because PetSmart has also changed their distributor. So
oh
majority of PetSmarts used to use Sun Pet as their distributor for fish and small animals and reptiles. They no longer use Sun Pet. They use a different
oh
distributor, and they have their basically their animal ordering system is automatic. So it goes based off of the sales from the previous week.
so whatever
So
gets scanned
whatever's
at the
selling the
register,
most,
yeah.
exactly, whatever's selling the most is what they're going to keep bringing in. So there's not going to be any like rotation of species specifically. I mean, you may get a couple of new guppies here and there or new types of mollies here and there once a month, but you're not going to see anything new or exotic, anything like that in the PetSmart, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I was surprised. You know what it was? I went to go look for coolie loaches. They're not
Mm.
carrying any loaches at all. They got rid of all the loaches. And I was like, what? How can you get rid of coolie loaches? That's probably got to be like one of the highest selling products that they carry, and they're done.
Think about it like this. How long have you spent, if you bought a fish at PetSmart and you've dealt with maybe a not so experienced employee or even an experienced employee? We all know how long it can take to catch a fish sometimes. Could you imagine how long it would take for a freaking PetSmart employee to be catch a coolie loach? You already can't find them. You can't see them. You got to
Well, no,
dig
it's
for it.
easy because they're always in that little that fake rock that they put there in the middle. You always lift it, and that's where all the coolie loaches are hiding.
We know that. We know that. But they don't know that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I was so surprised because I I was telling on a previous live stream that I had a pleco, a breeding bristlenose pleco tank,
Mhm.
and not too long ago I had it annihilated. You know, one of them died, and it I didn't catch it, and it just
Mm.
destroyed the entire tank. Well, in that same tank, I had bought like 4 of the black coolie loaches, the ones that don't have the actual yellow stripes, and I had thrown them
Mhm.
in there. And for the longest time, I thought I only had one because I would only see one. And I know when the tank went through that whole episode where all the plecos died, I was for sure that my coolie loaches, the one that was there, was gone. You know, I figured it had to die because,
Mm.
I mean, it killed just about all the plecos in there. Maybe about 3 or 4 survived out of a colony
Wow.
of over 50. And
Sheesh.
and so I was thinking, oh, for sure this is dead. And I was kind of pulling all the stuff out and just kind of trying to set it up for a restart. And I had drained the tank and probably had left about it's a 55-gallon tank, so probably about a third of the way up of water. And I
Mhm.
that night and left it and came out the next day. Well, everything had settled down, so there was like the little layer of moam on top of the gravel, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I see something kind of move in the moam, right? And I'm like, what the hell is that? I
Oh
thought I
my
had maybe
God.
I thought I had missed one of the smaller plecos or something like that. So I'm kind of looking, and sure enough, it was one of the coolie loaches. And I was almost
No.
positive because the ammonia spiked in there so high because everything died. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh, these guys, because they don't have scales, and they always seem to say that scaleless fish are a lot more sensitive. Well, I guess
Mhm.
these guys must be on a different level because not only did I have one, I had all of the 4 original ones. They just been hiding in between all the woodwork and everything that I had in there, and they were probably twice as big as when I first put them in there. So they
Oh
were actually
wow.
thriving. And so now that we're
Did
in
they
here, and I
come
was
from
thinking,
PetSmart?
yes, they did.
Then they're used to the ammonia spikes. They're good.
I guess
They were
so. They were
fine.
they were from they were from that's why I went back and I said, you know what? Now that all the plecos are gone, I'm gonna buy a bunch of coolie loaches. I'm gonna see if I can get them to breed because I had plenty. I was gonna put plenty of rocks and stuff for them to hide out. Well, that's when I found out that they had discontinued all their loaches, not just the coolie loaches. And I was like, "Are you serious?" And somebody was telling me, not PetSmart. I don't know if PetSmart does this, but like Petco, they've kind of
Mm.
done the same thing, but you can order online. Though you can order fish
Mm.
from their, I guess, their wholesaler, and they'll order them for you, and you can either have them come
Mm.
into the store or come to your house. So I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting.
Now that I don't think they do. It could be now. I don't know. It could be a store by store basis, but the ones that I've worked at have not offered anything like that.
Yeah, because you even go online to the online platform for the store. This is for Petco. I know that
Mhm.
for a fact, and it's cool because it opens up the catalog. Now there's a lot more other
Oh wow.
species that you can get from and that you normally wouldn't get at the store. Obviously, it's not like the gamut, but
Mm.
for example, I think what were the I think it was rummy noses. What one of the tetras that I was surprised that they were carrying. I was like, oh shoot, okay, you can get these through if you order them through there. And so, but I've never ordered anything from there. It's just one of those things. You see what comes in the store. I can't imagine it comes any better to your
Yeah.
house. The
Well,
only thing
it's
I
crazy because with PetSmart, I know I've been told by a lot of management and higher ups and before that the way it happens with them is they order from their distributor, but it doesn't go direct from the distributor to the store. It goes to their distribution center, PetSmart's distribution center. And they also have a holding area for a lot of certain type of animals. Fish
Mhm.
are one of them. and they basically transfer those fish from the delivery boxes and bags to their holding tanks. Then they take those fish and then ship them to the stores. They rebag them, rebox them, and send them to the stores. So those fish go through a lot more stress and a lot more movement than you would think they do just going from distributor to store.
Yeah, because that's why you probably always see them where they're riddled with ick because they've just been through so much stress. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I've never been able to go to the PetSmart down here and say, oh, their neons look really good today. They're always like the worst. I don't know if it's like the bottom of the barrel that they're getting their neons from, or I go to other stores and they look good, but not there. I've never had. They're all emaciated. The stomachs are sunken in, or they look like they're just on their last leg. It's like they never look healthy. Um, and I've bought a few
Mm-hmm.
in the past. I'll buy groups of like 10 and end up with two because everything else just kind of dies out. So it's like I quit buying them. I like them. I know it's a very I guess what they would call beginner fish, but it's not. I don't think they really are. But they're kind of classified as the old classics. And but I
Mm-hmm.
really think they look really neat. I like that iridescent red and blue that they get on them, especially once they get settled in.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
uh, so but because they've been around for so long, it's kind of like it's not the flavor of the moment. They always want the latest and greatest, so they kind of get played out. But I like them.
I
I
love
wish
me some
I
neon.
could find a good source to be able to get like 200 of them in one of my tanks. I think that would be
I
really
love
cool.
me some neons. I really I love neons, but I really love the black neon tetras. They just look so good. Oh my
Well,
god, they
they're
look
bigger
so
body, aren't
good.
they? They're a little bit bigger body
Slightly,
than
yeah, they're slightly bigger body. They're a little bit more round, a little bit chunkier.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
I would say that the the fact that they probably are not doing so well when you get them from those type stores is because of the fact that they have to go through that extra phase of shipping pretty much, and it's a lot more stress because in a lot of those situations they're not going to feed the fish when they're in the process of being transported from one place to another because of the fact that it's going to dirty up the water in the bags and cause
yeah,
ammonia and issues like that. So of course they're going to be a little bit more emaciated, a little bit less nourished than they should be when they go to the store, and then when they get there, they're already stressed out from the previous travel, and they're going to be stressed out again when they have to go into a tank without the lights being off and already existing stuff that they're not acclimated to, because they don't go
yeah,
through a slow acclimation process. It's only a temperature acclimation.
yeah. Plop and drop.
Hmm.
And then for a while there, I guess
Exactly.
all the systems were it was one entire system. And so if you
Yep.
had an outbreak in one tank, soon enough everything was going to go through the same.
Well, it's still all one system for most stores. I know the two stores that I have worked at, the only systems that are separate are the tanks for the goldfish and koi, and then everything else. That's the only separation. So that entire wall, if one tank gets it, like you said, if one tank gets it, you have to treat the entire system. And it's unfortunate because like I said, most corporate places are not going to shut down the sale of any fish for however long they need to make the treatment go for to reduce the risk of customers having that infection at home. And they're not going to inform their customer about it either. All they're going to do is not sell fish out of that specific tank, treat their system, and continue to sell fish, even though the tank might not be being treated properly. Or even if it is
Yeah,
being treated properly, there's no way you can maintain that level of water changes, treatment, and still selling fish from those tanks at the same time and expect it to be a good outcome. It's just not going to happen.
yeah. No, it's always funny because I have the sign not for sale, under treatment, but it's all connected into the same system. So It's
Hmm.
kind of like, all right, but that's
Right.
because most customers will not be aware of the fact that they're all in the same system. The only thing that I did see different when they did the remodel recently here at our store, they did
Mhm.
separate it, but by rows. So it's now they're only treating one row. There's 3 rows, I think, and each one is individually being filtered. At least that's what they were kind of
Mm.
that's what they were kind of informing the public that had been an upgrade they had done. I don't know. Until you get to go behind the door and look at what's going on, you just got to take it at face value for what they tell you. but they,
Maybe I need to throw on one of my old Pet Smart shirts and walk into a store and just go in the back and take a video.
but they do look nicer, and they have been cleaner recently.
Good. That
So they
means that the team of employees is doing what they're supposed to do and properly maintaining those tanks. Because it's not,
yeah,
it might seem like pretty overwhelming to have that volume of tanks to be able to care for someone that doesn't take care of tanks on a regular basis. But it's really not. As long as you're wiping down those things, it's fine. Wipe them down,
yeah.
change your filters, it's fine. They pretty much, those systems are very large and very expensive, and as long as the mechanics of them are working fine and the electronics are working fine, you do what you need to do on a regular basis. They do really well.
Now on those systems and are these stores, are you still having to add like dechlorinator, or do they have like a filtration system that
Mhm.
takes care of it?
No, they do still have to add the dechlorinator
Oh, okay.
and like they'll sometimes still add things like stress zyme or stress coat depending on where they are in like whatever maintenance that they're doing. But yeah, it is still required. There is also they do have a sand filtration in there as well.
Oh, okay.
Like part of the mechanism, it's got the giant pipe with the sand in it, and it pumps everything through that as part of the filtration stage.
Yeah, I was always curious on that because you would think as much as yeah, I guess as much water as they're going through, they would probably be
Mhm.
better off using like a huge carbon blocker so that they don't have to be spending money on dechlorinator. But
Well, they have carbon filters as well. They have giant carbon filters that slide down in. They have, I believe it's 2 stages of that, and then they also have just foam like filter floss.
hmm. So you guys, when you had to do maintenance on that, it was just replace, or you guys would rinse out and reuse.
So I prefer. I never really followed the rules. I did what I was supposed to do, not what they wanted me to do. So I would usually rinse them out and change them later on if they needed to be changed. But daily basis, I'm rinsing it. I'm not doing all that crap. You're wasting material.
Uh,
But store policy is remove it and change it every day.
oh wow, okay.
Mm,
I would think it would have been the other way around. I think that would have been
mm-mm,
no. You gotta use it until it falls apart.
mm-mm. Nope. It's
Now,
crazy the things that they're willing to spend money on, right?
yeah,
And the
yeah, that's
things that
pretty.
they're not.
Yeah, that is true.
Corporate priorities be all over the place. I'm telling you.
Now, is it? Well, no, but I'm trying to think. What would are they buying their own filtration system? But they're buying it from a different company, right? It's a third party provider. It's not a.
Yeah, it depends. Like I said, sometimes it's a store to store basis, and whether or not it's a high volume store, whether or not they get approved for certain remodels or certain updates and things like that. So that's a big factor. But in most cases, yes, it's a third party. Just it's a third party company, and the whoever's in charge of the district or area or whatever of that location is going to be the person that chooses all that.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess down here, I guess we were pretty fortunate because for the most part, the store seems pretty clean. As far
That's
as
good.
because I'll sit there and I'll listen. Sometimes I never interject and I never give my opinion, but I'll sit there and listen to the conversations that are taking place when somebody's and they're pretty good about asking. What are you going to put it in? How big is the aquarium? The just basic stuff, and they're pretty good about kind of explaining to them why it can or can't work. They're
Mm.
pretty good about asking what other fish do you have, just to make sure that whatever they're going to put in there is not going to get destroyed. And it's weird to listen to some of the comments that the owners will make. Oh yeah, I got an Oscar and I've got this and I got that, and they want to put guppies. It's like, yeah, they're gonna be
You
food.
can only imagine the struggle having been that person that was been the employee that has had to hear this stuff, this craziness. You can only imagine the struggle trying to keep your facial expressions from coming out when you hear some of the things that people say. And they're like, yeah, I wanted to know how many of these fish I could put together in my tank. And they're pointing at Oscars or some type of fish that's going to get ridiculously huge, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. What size is your tank? And they go, oh yeah, I got a 10-gallon. Huh? I'm sorry, what? And you got to keep your facial expression straight. Like, oh, okay, well, I wouldn't recommend these fish for that tank. What do you have in there already? And they'll be like, yeah, I've got 2 of those and 3 of those. And they point to common pleco and some other random, I don't know, something else.
Bala
And you're
sharks
just
or
right, and you're just like, oh my God. And then you ask them how long they've had the tank set up. Oh, I don't know, like 2 days. What? To everything. What? What are you saying to me right now? And then it's mind blowing how just flabbergasted people get when you tell them that it just won't work and the reasons why, and they're just like, well, what you mean? I seen somebody do da, da, da. And okay, it's like, okay, you know what, fine, you do what you want. I'm not going to sell you this fish, but you can definitely go somewhere else and buy them, and you do that.
did you
Good
ever
luck.
ask why it is that they sell these fish that probably shouldn't
Hmm.
be like common plecos or the Bala sharks
Hmm.
or you know did you ever ask why do we sell these if people normally can't keep
All the
them,
time.
and what was their
All the time.
response?
I never would really get one because I mean, the only people I could ask were my managers, and they didn't. Of course, they
uh
don't know. They're just there for a job. They don't know. They're like, I don't know. It's something corporate decided it, whatever. And it's just like, come on, you can't have your motto be anything for pets when it's really in reality anything for money. I mean, for God's sakes, you have a 14-day return policy for any animal, dead or alive. I'm gonna repeat that: dead or alive.
yeah.
Like, there should be no reason that a company sells an animal that should not and cannot exist in the wild outside if it was to get out in this state, like a chinchilla. Why do we sell chinchillas in Georgia? It makes no sense. And then, if you take it home and if it dies within 14 days, you can bring it back and we'll give you your money back, no problem. Or we'll replace it with another one.
Well, and I
What?
guess that goes to this then, because I can recognize when things are not right in the aquatic side, because that's kind of what I'm familiar with.
Hmm.
Is it just as bad on the other sections with the reptiles, the birds, and all that stuff? I wouldn't be able to
Yes,
tell you yes or no because I'm not familiar with the husbandry of those animals. Other than you
yes.
can, when it's real bad, it doesn't take you very much to know that something is really bad. But I don't think I've come across that yet, but I wouldn't know.
No, I would say definitely yes, because there's also situations like, for instance, finches. Uh, I'm sure you've probably seen them have finches at PetSmart before. They're beautiful, sweet little birds. However, personally, I don't think they should be kept as pets. You can't really train them. You can't clip their wings. They have to keep their flight wings. And they're absolutely terrified just being in a cage all day. You can't really interact with them without them being terrified. So they really shouldn't be kept as a pet, yet they choose to continue to sell them because they
Mhm.
sell. Why? When we have things like parakeets, conures, parrots, there's many other things. They don't offer rabbits or ferrets, which are very much interactive and a lot more, I would say, compatible for kids, more so than something like a hamster, which is a lot more susceptible to bite you.
Yeah, but you can't get a rabbit to run on the little wheel like you get a hamster.
No, but rabbits are very, very fun and interactive, Guinea
And then
pigs.
you could put a hamster in a little ball and it'll roll around in it.
I've always wanted to get one of them things for myself, like the big blow up ones. You can just run around in
Yeah.
it, like on a lake or something. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, no, I think I had a hamster as a kid once, and it didn't end well. I used to have it. I used. I don't think I had an enclosure for it. I used to keep them in a shoebox, and obviously it would get out. It would chew its way out.
I was
So
gonna
I
say he
remember
probably eat holes in it.
my dad. I think this is what I I vaguely remember. No, this I think that's what really happened. My dad had like a sewing machine because he used to do upholstery for like vehicles and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
it had the little drawers on the sides of the sewing table, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one day I was getting ready to go to work. I mean, to work to school, and the hamster had gotten out and it had chewed up the box. You know, so in my scrambling to try to find somewhere to put them, uh, the only thing I found was one of the drawers. Opened it up, threw them in there, and closed it. And me thinking when I come back from school, I'll get them out and put them in whatever it's got to go. Well, of course, I must have been, I don't know, what, 6, 7, whatever age you are when you're like in kindergarten or first grade.
Yeah.
And I remember coming back and I was so sad because I thought it had ran away. I totally had forgotten it was in that stupid drawer. So a few days go
Oh my
by
gosh.
and my mom's going bananas because she thinks she's got a loose mouse in the house and we can't find it and nowhere to be found, nowhere to be found. And by day 3, my room started to stink. It started smelling, and we couldn't figure out where it was
Oh.
coming from. My mom was washing the bed, the sheets, and all this
Oh
other
my
stuff,
gosh.
and finally, like by the fourth or fifth day, it just got really, really bad. And my dad walks in, and he was like, "Where's that coming from?" And he started opening up the drawers, and sure enough, when he opened
Oh
it
my
up,
god.
it was just full of maggots.
Oh
And it
man.
turned out, I guess, it was it was thick enough where the hamster wasn't able to bite his way out of the enclosure, but it didn't have
Hmm.
any food, didn't have any water.
Yeah.
I think my dad had like some uh foam knee pads that he was working on that he had stuck in there. Well, the hamster had chewed away on all that foam. I guess it got
Oh
hungry and that's what it
right.
was trying to eat. So I don't know if it
Yeah.
kind of poisoned itself, what it did, but it ended up dead. And I remember that was
Wow.
so traumatic for me. After that, I didn't want anything to do with hamsters. But yeah, unfortunately, that's usually what ends up happening to those kind of pets. They buy them for kids, and as kids, you're gonna step on it, or it's gonna get out of the house and go somewhere else.
Hmm.
Or if you have another pet, it might become lunch.
Right.
So yeah, poor hamsters.
And that's a big thing too, is that a lot of times that when you're in those situations as an employee, it can be kind of a catch 22 because you're stuck between the decision of, okay, do I sell this mom and this kid, this animal, and keep my job and make them happy and move on to the next thing, knowing that they may not be as educated as they should be to be able to care for this animal. And I've got 4 or 5 other customers right there waiting for me to also take care of them. And I don't really have the time to sit here and talk to her and tell her all the things that she needs to know to properly care for it. She doesn't really want to hear it. She's got her kid with her. There's a million things going on. It's a situation of, okay, what do I do? Take the time to talk to her and find somebody else to take care of it. Like, it can be a rough situation, especially when you are one of the employees that does care and wants to see people do well for their animals. Animals work well.
Yeah, I know, and there's it's crazy how some people will definitely just don't want to hear anything at all. You know, they might not know,
Mhm.
you know, what they're doing, but it's just kind of like, all right, my kid wants it, and I'm gonna buy it because they want it, and that's the only reason. You know, it's
Mhm.
kind of, I don't know. It, I guess you, like you said, you guys are really in a tough spot because at the end of the day,
Mhm.
you would get in trouble for discouraging somebody from buying something that than if you just sold it
I don't
and
care. I still
you
did it
never.
anyways. I still did it anyways. Okay, if you come into my store and you decide you want to buy a tank setup, cool. Okay, great. And then you start looking at the fish wall and saying, "Oh, I like this fish and that fish." And that. Cool, that's great. But what you're not gonna do is take fish home today. That's what you're not gonna do. You're gonna go home, set up your tank, get everything the way you want it, let it cycle, let it do its thing. Come back, then buy your fish. I'm not gonna be that person. I'm not gonna sell you the fish the same day that you're getting your very first tank ever set up.
Did you ever catch anybody where you would tell them that and they would come back the next day hoping you're not there trying to buy the fish because they.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, constantly. But they always got me messed up because I'm always a full-time employee. So please believe I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
They'll be asking to the front, when is she not working? Because I want to get my fish now.
No, every day. She works every day. Don't even worry about it. She orders the fish. She does this. She does that. But especially when I was at Pet Supermarket, there I it was a much better environment because I could actually order whatever I wanted. I could control the catalog. I went in and ordered what fish I wanted, what small animals, what reptiles, whatever they had available. If I thought it would have been a good fit for our store and our customers, I would get it. Or if I had someone come in and specifically request a certain type of fish that they've been looking for, if it's available on my catalog, sure, I'll absolutely order it for you.
Mm.
But it wouldn't be a situation where I would order an exorbitant amount or anything like that to keep in tanks if I know it's not something that we usually sell, or that people are requesting in general. I would order however many the person is requesting, and then maybe a couple to have in a rotation tank if I have one at the time.
Mm. Yeah, I know. Because I even asked them. I said, "Hey, can you guys order fish for client?" They're like, "No." I
Mm-mm,
guess their policy is they're not doing any of that stuff. What comes in,
mm-mm.
and the reason I was asking is because they had on their little labels, they had Celestial Pearl Daniels on the list, and I said, "Oh, when are you guys gonna get some of these?" She goes, "We don't know. I said, "Who orders your guys' inventory?" He goes, "Oh, the she pointed to the manager that was there, and she goes, "But they haven't been on the list for the longest time. I don't know." She goes, "I don't know why we even have the name, the place card for it, because they hadn't seen them there in over a year." So it was one of those things where it's like, oh, okay. And that's what I asked her. I said, well, would you guys be willing to order, because I wanted like some Von Reels, and they used to. I was telling her, I said, one time I came in and you guys had a group of 8, and I don't know if it was like an accidental order or it was something that they would bring in on once in a while kind of stuff. But even she goes, no, we can't order anything. It's just whatever comes in is the only thing that we
Mhm.
have. I was like, okay, because I know some stories I've heard like what you said, that if you kind of build a rapport with the manager or whoever's in charge of ordering, sometimes they'll get
Mhm.
stuff for you, but not this store, I guess.
No, I mean like smaller stores most of the time will. Like I said, when I was at Pet Supermarket, I know my store, I was the person that took care of all of that. Um, Pet Supplies Plus, same thing. But with Pet Super, or not Pet Super, PetSmart, it's always been just an automatic ordering thing for the most part. Now I know that some, like you said, some stores do have access to maybe ordering more or less of something depending on what they have.
Mm,
But they don't necessarily have access to like the catalog or anything like that, or getting different or new species other than what they already have listed.
yeah. Did you guys ever get in a situation where they would say, "Hey, you guys have already spent too much medication on these fish. Just let it go"? Because you guys get Well, I know the PetSmart down here every week. There's new fish coming in, so I don't think they might dose once or twice, and then they're just kind of like, "Oh, forget it. We'll just get some more next week."
Oh
We're
yeah, no, they don't care about how much medication or anything is used or anything like that.
okay.
I mean, they have a policy about like how much should be, of course, the treatment method and the course of treatment and all that other stuff, but is it necessarily followed most of the time? No. Because of course in those settings you have employees, not maybe not as everybody on the team is on the same page. Maybe that
Mm,
person had a much busier night and couldn't get to the treatment or the water change, or maybe somebody called out and they weren't able to do whatever. There's a lot of different situations that happen in corporate settings with pet care like that just unfortunately there's not really a whole lot you can do about unless you have more people
mm.
that are invested and want to be there and want to take care of the things that need to be taken care of properly.
Now, were you guys treating? It seems to me like mostly it's just what for ick, right? That seems to be the biggest problem. Or were you guys going through the whole, you know, deworming or infections?
No, honestly, they don't do anything like that. No deworming or infections or anything like that. No erythromycin or like um
Paracleanse.
honestly they don't even really do ick treatment necessarily when they get new shipment of fish. They only do it if they physically see an outbreak of it.
Mm.
So there's
Now,
no preparatory treatment whatsoever.
oh,
There's no like um oh god, what's the word I'm looking for? Preventative. There we go. There's no preventative treatment of any kind for the most
yeah.
part.
Now, an outbreak is considered what, one tank or more than one fish in one tank, or you got to have an entire tank, and then they
For
go, it's
me,
an.
it's one
Oh yeah,
fish. Shoot.
yeah,
Shoot.
yeah, because you
If I see
understand.
one fish in one tank on one part of the wall, it's like shut it down. Shut the whole thing down. Treat it right now.
Yeah.
But for them, I don't know. I've seen situations where there have been 4, 5, 6, 7 tanks that are completely covered, and they're just like, we just won't sell fish from those tanks. We'll just start treatment and just keep selling the other. I'm like, what? That's not how it works. No. If everybody in the room has been exposed to the flu, you don't just treat the people that are coughing right now.
Yeah.
No.
Now, are those tanks heated, or how are they? Do they have like a big heater for the whole system, or they're just running
Mhm.
ambient temperature?
Yeah, they've got a heater on them, but for the most part, it doesn't really like keep it heated. It really
Oh,
pretty much keeps it just above room temperature. And then the goldfish and koi system actually has a coolant cooler on it. So
Oh
it
wow.
keeps it right around 64 or 65 degrees. Sometimes a little bit warmer. Like I think the warmest it gets is like 68, maybe.
I'll tell you what though, I've gotten my goldfish from those stores and they're good.
Hmm.
I've never had an issue with goldfish. I don't know what it is
Hmm.
about their goldfish, but their goldfish are resilient. Maybe it's because
Oh,
they're
I've had people
subjected
that
to.
have bought comet, like the little feeder comets, and
Yeah,
put them in a pond, and they're huge. They're gigantic. They do really well for some reason.
yeah. I've bought a couple of fantails. I think over the time that I've been here, I've bought like four fantails, and I've never ever had a. They've never gotten ick from from when I've had
Hmm.
them, and I've never had them get any type of intestinal problems. Then again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're my they're my duckweed eradication team. So basically, their tank, I just loaded with duckweed. I don't really feed that tank.
Oh yeah, so they
So
got a really good immune system.
what happens is they don't get blout because they don't have any of the processed stuff.
Hmm.
There's nothing,
Yep.
there's none of that wheat, none of that stuff that's going into their system that could cause them a problem. At least that's what I think, because every time I see them, they're nibbling, and then you see a green pellet coming out the back end, a long cylinder of green compact
That's
waste.
that real good fiber.
Yeah, so it's just, and I've never ever had any issues. And I remember when I first got goldfish, there was always that one thing about, they shouldn't be eating at the surface because that's what causes their problems. I'm starting to think that's just an erroneous assumption, because it might be more of the food they're feeding them that is lower
Yeah.
quality food that is causing a lot of those problems. Not so much that they're gasping at the ear, because koi and all these other
Mhm.
fit, well, koi or carp. Well, yeah, I guess these were at some point carp. They're but they all gasp up at the air.
These
So
greedy guys do not wait for their food to sink. They be coming straight up to the surface as soon as I drop it in and gulping it, and they don't never have issues.
yeah. So I think with the goldfish is just more of the quality of the food, or how much, because
Hmm.
it's not very hard to overfeed them too, because they won't stop eating. You put food in there, they'll eat it.
Right.
They put food in, they'll eat it. So
A
if you
goldfish is
don't,
like a cow with fins.
yeah, that's exactly what it is, because it just goes in. It doesn't have a stomach to process it. It just kind of
Hmm.
goes through the whole digestive system. And I think the fact that they're eating all that vegetation, it doesn't really upset their system very much. So I've
Hmm.
never had a problem with it. I've been very fortunate with my goldfish that I've never had them die of a intestinal problem or anything like that.
That's good.
They just they just get older, and they might die of other things because of their deformities, but not necessarily because of I've never had one of blout, at least. Or it's hard to tell too, though, because they're so fat. So
Ed's Aquatic said, yeah, duckweed is high in fiber. So yeah, that's exactly why.
yeah, so that's all they really eat. That's my sole purpose of having goldfish in my fish room, is because I could literally put fistfuls of duckweed, and by the next day in the morning it'll be all gone. They
Yeah, it's funny.
Although I do.
Did you see Tyler, my neighbor across the street, when he was on Vibe Stream with us?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that interview. I didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah, so he has a lot of duckweed in a bunch of his tanks, and to get rid of it, he's been bringing it to me by the fistfuls, and I just throw it in here, and these guys love it. They
Oh,
love it.
okay. Are those Mbunas or Haps or Peacocks?
No, some convicts in there, uh, and they go back in.
You're freezing. You were
Uh-oh,
breaking
I'm
up.
frozen.
No, you're good. But you're back now. So, but
Oh,
they're
okay.
African cichlids. What you have in there?
No, I have one African cichlid. It's a blue dragon blood peacock, and then I
Oh,
got
okay.
a green Texan cichlid. I lost the other one, unfortunately, last week due to some aggression, and then the rest are convicts.
Oh, and the convicts will eat the duckweed.
Hmm.
Ah,
Yeah,
Yeah,
They are so
I've been.
greedy. These guys are greedy. I'm telling you, they will eat just about whatever I put in this tank.
Oh, okay. I know the Buenos Aires that are back here, but it takes them forever to eat it. Not like my goldfish. My goldfish will clean out the entire. I can cover that entire surface at the top, and by the morning
Mhm.
it'll all be gone. These
Oh
guys,
wow,
it takes them about a week to clear out, but again, it's a 75 and the other one's a 29. So there might be a little bit of difference in
that
the
makes
surface
sense.
area, but no, they're not. They won't eat it as much because they'll eat it as a last resort. I really got to like not feed the tank like 2 or 3 days
Mhm.
so that they start eating the duckweed, and they'll eat it.
Well, I also got a
Um,
lot of circulation in this tank too. So like when I throw it in, the wave makers kind of blow it all around, and
oh,
I guess
they
they,
confuse
they
it for
it
flakes.
kind of yeah, it kind of just pulls out their chase drive, and they're like, ooh, food, and they go and get it. They tear it up. They love it.
Well, I for a while there, I was actually because I had seen I don't know whose channel. I wish I could remember to give them credit, but they were taking it and they were drying it out, the duckweed, and then they would come back and then just crush it. It would be like feeding, I guess, algae or whatever,
Oh yeah,
you know,
nice.
seaweed, and the shrimp were eating it. So I was doing that for a little bit, but that was too much work. I said, nah, I just want to be able to scoop it from one tank and go drop it in the other one, and that's what the goldfish were doing for me.
I
But
bet that would
now,
probably be really beneficial if you were breeding goldfish or breeding koi though.
oh yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to have enough duckweed. I mean, they do go through a lot of duckweed. It's amazing how much duckweed those when I had the 60-gallon tank with the ones that my grandkids had picked out. Um,
Hmm.
that I could probably leave it like 2 inches thick of duckweed in the from the top to the bottom, and within 2 days and a half, it'd all be gone. I would have to gravel back
Wow.
the next day because it would be all full of
I bet.
waste at the bottom. Uh, and but yeah, they it got to a point where I think I was kind of like going, "Ooh, now how am I going to get more duckweed?" Because they were actually cleaning me out of the duckweed. They were
Somebody
eating
said
so
their
much of it.
sturgeon eats the duckweed. That's
Oh
cool.
yeah. Oh, and
That's
those guys are
cool.
big too.
Yeah, they are. I bet
Yeah.
those are
Oh,
some
what I
big
was gonna
poops.
say, uh, fish, fish list. I, he was I recently saw one of his videos because he's really into the African cichlids, and I know for the longest times people have been well, not people, but Funk and the people that I talk to on a regular basis have
Hmm.
always told me, dude, how come you don't have African cichlids? And the problem is everybody down here is just it's a saturated market of African cichlids. But the other day
Really?
he was doing an unboxing of some OB peacocks and I forgot what else it was, and I was like, man, that looks so neat because it was just he had all kinds of colors in there, and I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
that looks really really cool, and it got me to the point now where I've been asking around because I want to get some. If I do it, I just want to get like OB peacocks. I don't care about the
Man,
other.
some of the color variations you can get.
Well, I know this guy that he's called Blue Devil Cichlids. He's on Instagram. He used to be Sun
Oh
Devil
yeah, I
Cichlids.
know. I do. I know him. I follow him.
Okay. Well, he was showing me some of the ones that he's got, and is like, holy smoke! I don't know what they are. Don't ask me if they were Mbunas, Habs, or Peacocks or whatever. But I just knew the colors. He had some that were all.
Hmm.
He had some that were like red. I think those were red dragons, or so. I'm still new to the whole African cichlids, but
Yeah.
they were like white with red dots all over them. It was some. I think he called them strawberries. I don't know. It was, but
Strawberry peacock piglet.
yeah, yeah, and they look really nice. But the colors that he had on them, and I even asked him. I said, "Are you putting hormones in these guys or something?" He goes, "No, these
Nope.
are straight up color like that." And I
Yep.
said, "Wow, they were really really nice." And
It's the
so I
males
reached
though.
out
The
to him.
males are the ones with the
Yeah,
better color.
that's what he
Yeah.
was. And you know what? I guess from the little bit that I've been kind of, I'm still I'm still like on the fence whether I'm going to do it or not because there's a problem with the plants. When we were
Yep.
just talking about going live, you you've seen all my tanks. All my tanks have plants. I don't know if I could do an aquarium where I don't have plants, but
You can
it's
have
almost
plants with them.
yeah, it's one of those.
I did it
But
before when I was at that supermarket.
oh yeah,
Yep.
and it worked out.
In the African cichlid tank, all of the tanks at my store was planted. So I didn't
Oh, okay.
sell like the little cups like in the like the little plastic thing. Like no, if you wanted an aquatic plant, I'm gonna pluck it straight out of the tank for you, bag it. Here you go. So all of the tanks were planted. That tank I did have Java ferns in and managed to be able to keep them in the substrate. They didn't dig at them, they didn't mess with them, they left them alone. However, we all know that that's not going to always be the case. So I would say if you do it, use a bunch of Java ferns or something that's thick, long, and leafy, or even like Anubias. They'll pretty much leave them alone, but you gotta either put them on rocks or on some wood. It
Yeah.
can't be in the substrate because you know they're gonna start digging eventually.
Although the ones that I've seen that look really really cool, all they have is like the fake backgrounds, the artificial ones that look
Mhm.
like rocks, and then they'll
Yeah.
put some rocks in the middle and sand, and that actually doesn't look bad. I like that because it's all about the what's the attractiveness is going to be the colors of the fish.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was talking to
definitely.
Funk because I was asking him about because he's the one that's been telling me for years, dude, you need to do an African cichlid tank because where you live, the water is perfect for them. And I was kind of
Yes.
always giving him pushback on it. And I go, because I don't get it. I watch like Ben Ochart is the other one that I know that has a lot of Africans, and he'll be talking about, oh, that's a red emperor. And I'm looking at the fish and it's like, well, it looks blue, mostly
Yep.
blue with orange. Where's the red?
Yep.
And so they call them all these weird colors because they have a little bit of a iridescent or something. I was like, I don't like that because they're all
Mhm.
blue and yellow to me, blue and yellow, blue and orange. But when I was watching the ones that Blue Devil cichlids had, I was watching some stuff in there that I was like, whoa. And then there's one West African cichlid that Ed had shown on his channel, and that sucker is like yellow, orange, uh, blue. It's got all these colors, and it's like it is, but that's just naturally the the coloration of that fish. And I forget what the name of it is, but it is a
That's how this one
gorgeous fish.
is.
What do
I
you
don't
have
know if
in
you can
there?
see it. This guy right there, that's a blue
Yeah.
dragon blood peacock cichlid.
Oh,
He's got
okay.
like blue and red and orange on him. Trying to get him turned sideways.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll never do that when you want when you want them to do it, they won't. Okay, there he is.
He's kind of got a little bit of a striped pattern on him, a little bit. I don't know if you
He's
can
got the
see it
little
past
white
the
mohawk.
reflection.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's Sasuke.
Does he terrorize the rest of those guys or they hold their own?
Oh no! So this guy actually right here, this big old convict,
Yeah.
that is the he's the mean one of the tank. Him and this little I don't know if you can see her down there. This little baby right here
Yeah.
are the mom and dad of the tank. So she's the only female that I have.
Oh, they
But
don't fight
those
over
two
her?
keep. Oh yeah, he's the one. They keep causing. They keep being aggression or aggressive towards everybody when they decide they want to have a new clutch of eggs. Their
Let's see.
last two babies got killed this morning when I took all the rocks out and everybody could see them swimming around.
Oh.
And somebody asked me, it was like, why don't you ever just scoop out the babies and grow them out in another tank? I have no desire or intention to grow convicts, okay? I'm gonna
They're
let
feeder.
nature do its thing.
They're feeder fish.
Exactly. I'm gonna let them do their thing. Listen, if they make it, they make it. They're OG. If they don't, hey, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. That's Mother Nature for you.
Yeah, convicts was the very, very first fish that I ever had. Um, and it happened to be a pair. Uh,
Mm.
I don't know if they intentionally did that or or what the deal was, but I had a pair of convicts. I started out with a pair of convicts in a 10-gallon tank, one of those metal frames.
Uh-huh.
That was my very first aquarium with the slate bottom on them. That sucker was
Oh
super heavy.
wow.
I never understood what it was, why it was so heavy until later on when I realized that there were slate bottoms. I didn't know that. I thought that was normal. That was my very first aquarium I've ever had.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And but that's what I had in there. And those suckers, tell you what, those convicts are super resilient because they went through my learning curve. And you know, coming from a Mexican background, you scrub everything clean when you wash it. So that means I was, using the soap and scrubbing
Yeah.
everything out of
Bleach.
there. And
Yeah.
yeah, the whole gravel, cleaning it all out until there was no dirt in it
Yeah.
because otherwise my mom wouldn't want it in the house. And those
Yeah.
convicts went through all of that. They survived it. They're some
Oh
tough,
wow.
tough fish.
It's funny you
And
say that. I had a friend of mine actually. I don't know if y'all probably heard me talk about it on Vibe Stream a couple of times, but my best friend, her sister, had a pair of angelfish in a 10-gallon tank, and one of them had died, of course, because obviously. Um, but I don't know how the other one managed to survive this long, but she was doing the same thing. So every time she did a water change, she would dump out all of the water. She would take the fish out in a little Kool-Aid pitcher of the
yeah.
water, have the fish to the side in the pitcher, and dump out everything, the water, all the rocks, everything, wash it in sink, put it back in the tank, and put straight up sink water back in it, couple of drops of conditioner, and then just plop the fish right back in it. Somehow it managed to survive like that for almost 2 years. And then one day, even after me telling her multiple times, hey, you need to replace this tank, your seal is pretty much gone in two corners. It's gonna blow out soon. Like, you need to replace this immediately. Didn't listen. It blew out. They tried to save the fish. They scooped the fish up off the carpet. A little bowl of sink water, of course. It didn't survive.
Yeah. Yeah,
I told
no.
her don't get any more fish.
Oh,
I told her do not get another fish egg. Do not get any more fish. Just don't do it.
yeah, I know that. It's crazy the stuff that you would put your. So that's why it's funny because I think back of all the stuff I did that I put them through in my process of learning, right? And now I come back into what is today's society of, with all this information out there, and they make it seem like these fish are like super weak, that if you
Mm-hmm.
just do one little thing incorrectly, it's going to kill them. And I'm thinking it
Mm-hmm.
can't be possible. These are the same fish that have been around for all this time. They're a lot more resilient than we get them credit for. Now,
Right.
am I telling people go out there and just do whatever it is you want and don't worry about doing it correctly? Of course not, because you are stressing the hell out of the fish. But I just think that they're not as weak as we make them out to be. Case in point is those killies. I mean, the coolie loaches. I could have
Oh yeah,
sworn,
definitely.
based on how high the ammonia level must have gotten in there, because it wiped out the entire colony of plecos. There's no way that common sense would tell you the coolies would survive, and they're there. They were struggling. Don't get me wrong. I thought they weren't going to make it,
Mm-hmm.
but I did a water change immediately, and try to make it so that it was better for them. And it took them a while, but now you look at them, they bounced back, and all four of them were
Oh
there, and
wow,
they're
yeah.
all still eating. And you know, I knew they were got a little bit of irritation in their gills because they kind of had them flared out for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking, wow, they're, I'm surprised that they've survived this long. So I figured I'll try to do right by them. If they die, they die. I really wasn't giving them much hope, but they're there. Those now to me, I'm thinking these guys are some serious, troopers. They're again more resilient than what we would give them credit for. So, you know,
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, and it's cool that it's good that you caught them too, because I mean, had you not been looking at the tank in that couple of seconds that you were looking at it and saw the movement, they could have been gone forever. You would have never had them again.
I don't know. I know somebody on YouTube was talking about I want to say it was KG Tropical. I don't know. I am probably wrong, but I know it was one of the channels, one of the bigger channels, was talking about them breaking down some tanks, and they forgot they had a cool, because you can forget that you have coolie loaches in there, or
Oh
you
yeah,
just think they're
definitely.
gone, and that tank sat around for months with probably about that much water, they said, at the bottom of it, and they went back
Wow.
to reset it up, and they discovered that coolie loach was still in there.
Oh my
They had they
gosh.
they hadn't fed the tank. They hadn't done anything to that tank, and the coolie loach was still in there. And so
I mean, I've seen people talking about I can ago, but these guys basically went and they went around to like houses that had been destroyed by either like disasters or whatever, and they did like clean out. Well, they came across one house that had been completely destroyed by a fire, and
okay,
in the house there was a tank, it was a fish tank, and the entire tank was completely blacked out. I mean, honestly, it wasn't burned or anything because it's glass. It's not going to destroy the glass, but it was blacked out. All the soot and everything else. The stand was on with metal, so that was still standing. There was maybe about that much water in it when they started looking around in it, and of course they didn't expect anything to be in there. Well, they started to clean everything out, and they took the tank outside in the sun to be able to see it and everything. There were 3 plecos alive there. They had not been entered for almost a year after the fire.
oh wow,
So they're still in surviving in that tank with no food, no light, no heat, no nothing, no oxygen, just chilling. And they were perfectly fine. And they took them to this pet store and they took them in and everything was fine. They ended up growing. They ended up coming back a couple months later and saw the growth. And they were like so much bigger and they were thriving really well. And it's mind blowing. Like you said, they're not as weak as we think they are. But
yeah,
that's
that's
also not just
location,
license to go out and
yeah,
put your finger in the ringer on purpose, just to see what they can and can't handle.
yeah. No, it's one of those things where so now it's just kind of I take more of a relaxed approach to it. I don't freak out. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I it's not panic mode. This is just fix whatever's wrong, and you know, if you catch it early enough, it's going to be fine. I think
Mm-hmm.
that let me get uh, I didn't have Melvin as a mod, that he didn't have a wrench, so I needed to fix that. He's the only one I think that I noticed that didn't have one, but he hadn't commented in a while. So yeah, no, that's just it's amazing, and even nowadays, I still learn something different or something new, which is kind of cool. But
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing is that I'm starting to think, yeah, these guys are not like right now. Um, I'm keeping the fish room heated with a little radiator heater, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
have it set very high. I have it at 76. So most my tanks are sitting somewhere in the low 70s to the
Okay.
high 80s, and and I'm kind of keeping an eye on them because I'm trying to see if it's going to create a problem for some of these fish, but they're doing fine. The only ones that I noticed that don't like it on the cooler end that I've actually had to put a heater in that tank is my tiger barbs. They were
Oh yeah,
struggling. Well, they were struggling once they got down to like about 72 in that tank. They were not happy and they were not looking
yeah, they
good.
don't do much at all. These
So
guys
I
are sitting
they're
at about 78 right now.
okay.
Yeah. They, I
Yeah,
mean, I
so
keep it pretty warm for them year round. I don't even turn the heater off. I just let it, and I just keep it on. I think it's set right between 78 and 80. So it's set on 80, but it never really, it doesn't never really go all the way up to 80 because of how big the tank is
okay.
relative to the heater. I think it's a much taller tank. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's sorry.
sorry, no, you're good. Go ahead.
No, I was going to go ahead and answer Diego's question.
Oh, yeah,
No.
sure.
Yeah, no. So that's kind of what I've been kind of trying to see, and then well, the other thing is that I've kind of been playing around with is since I have racks, obviously right now in the winter, if I put them up higher, they're going to be warmer tanks, because the heat will
Mm-hmm.
rise. And if I want this, I can put the cooler species that I have like in the bottom. Like right now, I should really move my white clouds because they're in the top tier rank. I should have them down here on the bottom rank because it'd probably be a little bit cooler and probably be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
happier. Although it's not very, I mean, right now the fish room is 81 degrees, so the tanks are probably about 78. Because it'll be
Oh,
about
yeah,
two
definitely.
degrees, 2 degrees cooler. But and I'm trying to get those guys to
Mm-hmm.
breed, and so I'm thinking maybe I should move that colony and swap them out with probably my my cherry barbs. I could probably put up there and swap them out with that. But that
Shoot,
would
you want to get them things to breed? Talk to TJ about that one.
which one? Oh, the white
The
clouds.
white clouds, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Cheryl the other day about them. Um, well, here's the thing. I am at the point where I don't necessarily want to be pulling out eggs. And I know Rachel
True.
Leary was able to do it in a tote on an outdoor pond where she was
Mm-hmm.
able to breed them without having to mess with them, but she, I guess because it was a tote and it had a bunch of um, hornwort in there, they
Mm-hmm.
were able to get some survivors. Uh, and right now, all I have in there is is guppy grass, but it's not as heavily planted as it probably should be if I want to do that. So, but those are just things that I'm playing around. I guess I'm gonna be a lazy breeder. But like I was telling, who was I telling them that I don't necessarily want to breed for profit. I just want to breed to have more, to have a few more. So if out of a whole
Makes
group I
sense.
get like 5 that survive, I'm happy. That to me is a
Yeah.
win because it's more that I could add to that colony without being overrun. Because I learned with the angels, I still have a bunch of angels that I never was able to offload. It was just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people bought them, but you just produce too many. I quit pulling eggs out. Now anything that gets laid in the tanks, I'm just leaving it in there, and if they happen to figure out how to raise them, fine.
Right.
But I'm not actively pulling them out and trying to hatch them out and raise them because you
Yeah.
just without having a place to offload them, then you're just creating problems for yourself. So that's
Exactly.
why
Which is exactly why I leave the convict babies alone.
yep, I figured out how to do it. It took me a while because I was struggling and couldn't crack the code, but now that I did it a couple of times and I said, okay, I know what I need to do. Now it's just kind of like I don't need no more angels. They're just gonna sit there, let them grow out. if somebody wants to buy them, they can buy them, but I'm not doing anymore for a while. Maybe I shouldn't do anymore because that might be the tank that if I do go with the African cichlids, that would probably be the best
You
tank for
gotta
them.
do it.
Yeah, what I wanted is
I'm gonna
something
be
that
on
would
you
be.
about that now.
I wanted to have it somewhere behind me where because they're so colorful. I mean, it's just, but that's all I want. It's just the colorful ones. I don't care about. See, I'm going to be one of the few that all I want is hybrids in there because the hybrids are the ones that are really colorful.
Hey, that's your preference. That's your preference. That's what a lot of people are drawn to African cichlids for, anyways, is because of their color variations.
Yep.
And the shape of them. I mean, they're just such a sleek looking fish.
Yeah, but I still need to know the difference. I know there's Imbunas, peacocks, haps, and then there's the West Africans and the Lake Tanganyika, or Lake Victorian. Are those are the same thing as the West Africans, right?
I believe the Lake Victoria ones are the West African ones. Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the ones that you'll see, wrong. I might have it the other way around, but most of the ones that you see, like,
yeah, because I personally like the smaller fish.
Y'all tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I personally like the smaller fish. That's why I kind of like the Tanganyika ones because I like the Juliachromises. I like the compressissips that they have and the
like the shell dwellers and stuff.
Yeah, I love those fish. They look really nice. They don't have a whole lot of color, I was watching Jacob. He's got some they call them I guess the sardines, the chromis. No, what are they called? I forget their scientific name, but they're like they get like a bluish purple kind of coloration to them. They look like a little sardine, and those are really nice. They're expensive too. Well, they used to be. I don't know if they still are, but for a while there,
not
you were
the
paying
like chromis.
No, maybe. I forget. Like I said, these are all fish that are new to me because for the longest time I would see them, but I never really dwelled into them too much because I wasn't interested in keeping them. But now that I'm thinking about doing it, I might start diving into that rabbit hole so that at least I know what I'm keeping. So if people ask me, what is that? I can tell them what it is. Right now, I can tell you everything that I have because I'm keeping it for a while, but I kind of want that to be a regular thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So Mariah, what's the deal with your channel? What are you doing with your channel? Because I went in there and I looked, and you only have like one video and a whole bunch of shorts. Is it something that you only have because it allows you to be part of the community, or are you going to plan to do something?
So I started it off originally thinking, okay, great. I'm gonna start making content about my fish. I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna do that. But y'all, I'm not a content creator. Okay, I'm just not that person. I don't have the energy or the patience to sit and try to film these little bastards the right way, because y'all know, if anybody that's ever kept fish that has tried to photograph them knows it is incredibly frustrating to get that perfect shot or that perfect video or whatever, and then to sit there and have to edit and put the music and the captions and the hashtags. It's a lot for me. I've never been a big social media
I'm gonna call BS on your excuse.
Nah, for real. Listen, I've never been that type of person.
No.
I can sit and stream all day long. I have no problem with that. Okay.
That's where I'm getting at. That's you don't.
No, I can sit and stream, no problem. You catch me when I got some time. I'll sit and stream with you. We can sit and chit chat. But this is a lot more hands off, and I can just, flow naturally the way I would in a normal conversation. Whereas sitting down trying to film something, my angles right, getting the lighting, doing this, doing that, figuring out my caption and that. Oh, that's too much
your own channel. Is that you get to do what you want to do on it, and the reason I'm calling you
not post that much, exactly.
Oh no, here it is, because you were doing it on Instagram. You were going live. You were doing maintenance on
Yeah.
your aquariums. Exactly that you can do here on YouTube too. That's what I'm trying to get at.
See, and that was the other thing. I have tried it a couple of times. I think I've gone live on YouTube maybe 2 or 3 times, but I really just, I don't know. It felt, I got bored because I was sitting there talking to myself for like an
Well, that's
hour,
because people didn't know you before. One, because you were just coming from
you know?
Instagram. You
Yeah,
hadn't
that's
really
true.
you really hadn't made, friendships in the community. Now you do. People know Smokey, they know who you are.
Yeah,
And if you schedule it with a couple of days in advance, it'll send the notifications out to people.
yeah,
And
true.
and again, it's people are gonna come there because they like you and they like your personality. And you can sit there and just the same reason I would watch your live streams on Instagram is the same reason I would watch them here. Is because it's you have this personality, you're funny and you're entertaining, and
Thank
and
you.
you just like to talk, and it doesn't have to be anything structured. It doesn't have to be anything formal. Now there's more people that know who you are, that I'm sure that if
Me,
you were to do
structure?
something.
Ah, 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 that's funny right there. Formal? No,
So,
okay.
it would be just perfect for you. You turn on your camera, you go live, and you're doing your thing
Yeah.
and you're interacting just the same way you would do it on Instagram. I think now, if you did it now, you would see that you would have more success than when you were first doing it. I used to know of you on YouTube because of Instagram, and I was following you on Instagram. So it was just logical when I saw you on YouTube. I said, "Oh, okay, this is Mariah, so it's no big deal." But not a lot of people in YouTube knew you. Now they do. Now there's more people that know who you are, and I'm sure you
Well,
would
I
do.
appreciate the encouragement. I'm gonna have to start trying to make some more time to do that more often. Because I even with Instagram, I'm choosing. I haven't really been very much active on there as much either. Just I mean
Well,
everything.
and
I've been very busy lately with everything else with life, and so tired by the time I get home. The last thing I want to do is get on my phone and try to be
yeah,
personable to people. You know. So
yeah, but
I get it.
when you do your maintenance on your aquariums, that would be a good time. And here's the crazy part, because I know some people say, "Well, I don't get home, and I probably won't do my water changes till 1 o'clock in the morning." Go live at 1 o'clock in the morning. You'll be surprised how many people are out there. And a lot of the times
Yeah,
it's not even US people. You'll get people like from Australia, from
yeah,
England or the UK, from India, whatever. There's an audience 24/7. And the only reason I know that is because I work graveyards, and there'll be times where I'm going, let me see who's going live, and I'll start checking, and there'll be some channel that I've never heard of, and there'll be a group of people watching. So there's always it's always people for YouTube. And the other thing is, there's not enough women doing this. You guys have to be role models for
yeah.
these
I've
young
noticed
girls that
that.
try to get into the hobby, that they can look up and relate to somebody that looks like them. You know what I'm saying? It's another girl doing it,
Yeah.
and I think it's important, because right now you guys are outnumbered by the how many guys are doing live streams versus how many of the girls that are in the hobby actually doing, or ladies, I shouldn't say girls, but ladies in the
Mhm.
hobby, that I think it's important that you guys have a presence, and not so much for us, but for young aspiring girls that might want to get into this, and they have
Right. No,
somebody that
definitely.
they
I
can relate
completely
to.
agree.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that would. So, but that with that being said, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on such a short notice. And I know you
Of
were a little bit
course.
concerned. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about you. That's what we're going to talk about. It's the easiest thing.
I was like,
It's the
any
easiest
kind of
topic.
topic in mind, or what do we just?
No,
All right, cool. Let's
no.
do
Well,
it.
most
You
of
know.
mine is because I know you do your shows with Eddie and Todd. Um, the whole thing is more of anything getting people getting to know who you are and what you're all about. So, and that's kind of what I've kind of focused on, and other interests that people usually have outside of the hobby. We didn't even get to talking into your dog grooming experiences and the adventures that come with that, and how
That's
many
a
times you
whole
get
nother
bit.
world, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, it was the craziest day. I was watching one of your lives. You see, you do go live because you did it from one of the salon days you were doing. You were blow
Uh-huh.
drying this dog. I couldn't believe
The
how
hair
much
going everywhere.
hair. I was like, how in the world does she not have allergies? It was just hair
Hey,
after hair
listen,
after
you
hair.
gotta be a very strong-willed individual with a lot of patience to do dog grooming.
Man, I couldn't believe how much hair that dog had. That was just loose, when you were grooming off. I was like, wow. I
Mhm.
would come home all covered in hair. Uh, you
Well,
know,
sometimes I remind myself of seeing in Edward Scissorhands where he's sculpting an ice sculpture and there's just snow flying everywhere.
yeah.
That's how it feels. It's like hair. Sometimes it's bad enough where I have to mask up, put the gun range goggles on, the gun range headphones, and go from there. Because sometimes you'll get a dog that's screaming bloody murder, like a husky or something like that, and just
Yeah,
it's
I
louder
think the
than the
one you
dryer. So you need the headphones.
yeah, oh, that dryer is insanely loud. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
Hmm.
I didn't know how to get a headache. That's just, but then again, you were wearing the big headphones. I mean, the earmuffs.
Yeah,
I don't think
those are
that's
from the
I don't
gun
think that's
range.
a choice. Yeah, I don't think that's really a choice. I think it's almost because I was like, wow, I can imagine working 6, 8 hours doing that with that thing just cranking out as loud as it is. And I was like, man,
And a lot of
that's
people
not
don't think about that kind of stuff, when they're like, if their dog has a really bad day or whatever, or if we're not able to do certain stuff with their dog. If it's that loud for us and dogs' hearing is so much better than ours, imagine how loud it is for them. And they don't have
that's
anything
probably
to
why they're
protect their
freaking out.
ears.
They're
Exactly.
probably in pain
And a
for
lot of dogs, and you got to think there's not only that sound, but there's phones ringing, there's other dogs barking, there's people coming and going, the water's going. It's very loud and sensory overload in
yeah.
a grooming salon.
Yeah, but we'll leave that one for a different day because that we could spend another hour and a
Oh
half
yeah,
just talking about dog grooming and the dog owners.
definitely.
The dog owners are probably the
Oh
worst.
right. You have no idea. No idea.
Well, I do have a little bit of an idea. That's why I say that because I've seen some of it. But yeah, no, I don't envy you at all having to do that. But again, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Um,
Definitely.
Tomorrow's live stream that was scheduled for that, I just found out from Jacob that we might have to reschedule it. Apparently, I guess they had some issues with snow and ice and dropping of
Mm.
power lines and internet service. So
Oh
I know I
wow.
haven't was waiting for him to confirm the fact that we weren't going to be able to go live, and I think he did. And so I'll go ahead and pull that out. You know, pull that back until we get another date or time. Uh, I think tomorrow morning, what I'll do because I haven't done one in a while, I'll do one of the plug episodes instead of doing the interview for tomorrow, and I'll schedule that tonight. But with that being said, thank you guys. I really appreciate your guys' support. Every time I do one of these, it seems like more and more people are watching. I really appreciate that, and you guys have a great beginning of your week. So we'll see you guys soon. Anything you have to people that want to follow you? What are your social medias? Where can they find you? How
All
can they
right,
get in touch?
yeah. Smokey the Fish Girl on YouTube. It will be a green phantom pleco as the profile photo. And then I am Mariah underscore Reina Cichlid underscore Tashera on Instagram. If y'all need that, it's probably in the chat somewhere for the spelling.
And you're also on Fish
Um,
Family.
yes, I think all of my information is also on fishfam.link as well, so you guys can find me there. Mariah, also known as Smokey, And thank you for having me, George. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. Thank you,
No, no
everybody in
problem.
the chat, for hanging out with us. And if y'all know me, y'all know I always end streams by saying, treat other people how you want to be treated, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and may God treat you how you treat animals and elders.
All right, guys. You guys take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.